Hello all and welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. Tons of stuff to cover again today, all to do with the crypto space in general. Lots more news on Hedera and the ecosystem and the direction in which the markets are moving, as well as I'm going to give some more of my thoughts on the altcoin season that appears to be looming around the corner and the general direction for Bitcoin. First things first, let's take a quick look at the kind of market overview as we currently see it. Obviously, everything is on a bit of a pullback over the last 24 hours. We can see Bitcoin is down 1.61%, with Ethereum at 1.72%. However, the 7-day or weekly performance, we can see Ethereum is now beginning to outperform Bitcoin again. Ethereum at 13% up on the week, whereas Bitcoin is just shy of 10%. And this is the general macro trend that we're beginning to see now. Obviously, Bitcoin has had a bit of a run and it will continue to have a run, and Ethereum will follow closely behind. As soon as we start seeing Ethereum massively outperform Bitcoin's gains over the coming weeks and maybe months, that's when we know we're really heading into altcoin season. I'll give some more thoughts on that later in the video, so make sure you stick around. Talking about some of the coins that we're interested in, obviously Hedera being one of them, had a fantastic run up yesterday, ironically right around when I published yesterday's video at sort of 2 o'clock. Now, the interesting note that I wanted to point out was the volume increase we've seen. So we'd had this volume of sub £100 million worth for weeks, if not months, if even lower than that. And as of around that turning point yesterday at 1-2 p.m. GMT 0, we've seen a 45 to 50% uptick in the volume, which has now been sustained for over 24 hours, and it keeps increasing. We're heading back towards £200 million of volume traded. So clearly something is going on here. Hedera is starting to pick up that volume, and this coincides with lots of on-chain statistics we've seen from the likes of Hashpack and TurtleMoon, for example. So TurtleMoon have seen their largest growth in new user accounts within March, so this month, and the same goes for Hashpack. The number of new wallet signups has been the highest of 2022 or ever, actually, all in March of this year. So we can see the ecosystem is gearing up. More retail is flowing into Hedera and starting to realize the potential of Hashgraph, as well as the ecosystem development that we're going to see over the coming weeks. I've been saying this to you guys for ages. Make sure you're kind of all prepared. Make sure you've got your Hashpack wallets. You know, you have an account set up on TurtleMoon for NFT drops like Dead Pixels. You're engaging with these dexes like SourceSwap, Tangent, Hedera Starter. You know, all of these projects are really fantastic, and they are launching very, very soon, and it will be a big turning point for Hedera. As soon as DeFi goes live and we have these dexes to facilitate swaps and stuff, we'll be looking, you know, potentially or hopefully similar to what the Binance Smart Chain did last year, where that kind of all went live, and then within the matter of like 4 to 8 weeks, everything exploded, and it was kind of a bit of a casino for a while, but a fantastic place to be with tons of growth. And that's what I feel like is going to happen to the Hedera ecosystem. Touching on some more news recently, about Axie Infinity. So crypto gaming's biggest success story yet, scammed out of $600 million. So NFT-based battler Axie Infinity just suffered a major hack. And when asked about the hack, they effectively said the attacker found a backdoor through our gas-free RPC node, which they abused to get the signature for the Axie DAO validator. By doing this, they basically compromised the system and managed to get away with 173,600 Ethereum and 25.5 million in USDC, which was drained from the Ronin bridge in 2 separate transactions, obviously totaling over $600 million. So this is one of the biggest hacks we've actually seen to date, I think, in the sort of crypto space. Really scary stuff and not good at all. Actually, you talk here about the $600 million that was stolen from the Polygon network. Now, I'm hoping this is one of the things that Hedera has resolutions for. Security is obviously very important, and security is one of the core pillars of Hedera itself. And if you ever speak or see any information from these projects building on Hedera, they talk about how important security is. It's something Hashpack talks about quite a lot, as well as, you know, these projects that are developing. So, you know, never say never. It's always a risk in these types of markets, as they're really still in their infancy, and bugs and exploits will be found. You know, for example, there are tons of exploits every year within, say, Microsoft's products like Windows. So, you know, it's a given, it happens. Hopefully we've got the additional layer of security that the ABFT on Hedera provides, and it'll be much harder for them to get away with problems like this. That being said, it was less to do with the network and more to do with the solution provider, and that's why it's important these projects that go live, say SourceSwap or Hedera started, for example, have seriously robust protocols in place and very strong audits are taken to ensure that mitigation of this happens. Talking about the altcoin season in general, obviously I've covered on it in the last couple of videos now, as we're seeing everything begin to pump and go green and our positions are becoming sort of fruitful now. cbbi.info is a really great website which kind of links together several different metrics to try and piece the Bullrun index. They call it the CBBI because it's the Bitcoin Bullrun index. Now, something that I wanted to talk about, it sort of piggybacks off of Into the Cryptoverse. So Benjamin Cohen, fantastic bloke over on Twitter, nearly sort of 800,000 subscribers on YouTube, really embedded in the sort of regressional side of Bitcoin. But he talks about the lengthening cycles of Bitcoin quite a lot, and hence why we've not seen this blow off top yet. And I'm very inclined to agree with him in terms of a macro trend of the market. And we can kind of see that play out on this chart as well. So as we can see, the confidence that we're at the bull run peak now is only at 40, so very, very low. Whereas if we look at the previous highs, which are marked by the green HI boxes, obviously the CBBI confidence indicators maxed out at sort of 99 and 100, indicating that that was the top of the cycle. You have a couple of these false flag peaks as well midway through the cycles, which we can see here. So back in 2013, we had the confidence interval spike towards 90, but we weren't at the peak. We can see the same here. We had confidence intervals in 2017 hit sort of high 70s, maybe even the 80s, and it still indicated that we weren't at the peak before it retraced. And the same again has happened in 2021/2022. You know, we had that confidence peak in February of 2021, and then everything began to retrace from there, and the Bitcoin price kind of fell proportionally with that. The thing that I wanted to talk about and just kind of illustrate as an idea, obviously none of this is set in stone, but something that Ben Cohen talks a lot about is the lengthening cycles. And what he kind of means is the distance between the halvening and the highs, from my understanding. Now, what we can see is if we actually look at the difference in dates, we can already see these gaps are widening. So this first halvening point was the 29th of November 2012. That was then followed by the Bitcoin high of the 4th of December 2013. So that was 370 days from the halvening point to the high point. So take that in mind, that's just over 1 year. We fast forward to 2016 to 2017's halvening, so the middle of the year on the 11th of July 2016. That was then followed by a high on the 16th of December 2017, or 523 days later. Now, comparing these 2 points, we can already see if we just do a simple percentage change calculation, that's 41% increase in the number of days between the halvening and the high point. So if we just kind of extrapolate that out and we take the same sort of measure of 40 to 50% increase in the days from halvening to high, and we sort of superimpose that on the halvening that we saw most recently on the 7th of May 2020, that works out to be roughly 740 days. Now, rather ironically, that would put the high somewhere around the middle of May, around the 16th of May. So we're beginning to see this narrative play out that the CBBI is increasing, Bitcoin is increasing. We're in March, we're a couple of months away from May, and we're seeing a lot of buzz about the potential altcoin season coming and being around the corner. That kind of ties up with this idea of the halvening cycles. And like I said, I've just given a very non-informative kind of prediction that potentially altcoin season and the Bitcoin high could be in May or June of this year. So that's literally within the next couple of months. And as I said, things will go parabolic in a very short period of time. All things else equal, obviously everything I've just mentioned is obviously not financial advice. Yeah, I'm, a rambling idiot on the internet effectively, as far as you guys should be concerned. And obviously you need to play out to your own strategy that you have identified. However, I'm just going to continue averaging into these positions. This just gives me a little bit more confidence that obviously we are still heading towards that crazy bull market that, I've experienced a couple of times previously, and that I'm very much so looking forward to experiencing with Hedera going into the future. So I hope that gives you guys a bit more information. Talking about the actual path to altcoin season as well, something again I've mentioned before, and a lot of you guys have probably seen this chart, but phase one is obviously Bitcoin, and that's why I put a lot of emphasis on Bitcoin, less so about the technology, more so about the macro direction of the market. So flow of money moves into Bitcoin, causing price surges. We then get this phase overlap between Bitcoin and Ethereum. So money flows into Ethereum, but it struggles to keep up with Bitcoin. Ethereum goes back and forth with Bitcoin until it starts outperforming, what I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Ethereum then outperforms Bitcoin, and we hear talks about the flippening again. So Ethereum is going to overtake Bitcoin's market cap. It's excelling against Bitcoin. And then we get this phase overlap again between Ethereum and the large caps, something I've mentioned before. So money flows into the large cap projects, these blue chip projects within the space, and we see large buyouts of tokens happening. So Ethereum in phase 3 then has been outperforming Bitcoin, and the large caps begin going parabolic. So that is our projects like Solana, Polygon, the top sort of 20-ish, maybe even 50-ish projects. And this is where we will see this is when we'll see Hedera really shine, especially as it lines up almost perfectly with the DeFi coming online. We then get this kind of flow again. So regardless of market cap, some of the altcoins with strong fundamentals are having pumps. And then phase 4 is the alt season, where it goes into sort of full degenerate mode. Everything appears to be going parabolic. Think about last year's Binance Smart Chain deal, where everything was doing hundreds, if not thousands of % as soon as a project got launched. It gets a really euphoric place effectively. And then effectively the cycle resets. And that's kind of the market cyclical nature of the market that we're in. Something else I wanted to mention as well about my current strategy, and maybe something you guys should consider. Saw this tweet from @𝗟𝗘𝗦𝗦. I don't agree with it at all, but he basically turns around and says, don't FOMO in now, and believe me, there will be a juicy dip. Now, the bit I don't agree with is he's basically saying try and time the market. Now, I do agree, do not FOMO into positions. I said this before about Zilliqa. I would not FOMO into a project that's just suddenly done a 100% increase in its price. That, in my opinion, is just stupid. You are seriously looking to get burnt. There are plenty of other projects that haven't pumped yet. Hedera being a great example of that. XLM, XRP. There's tons of other projects which are waiting patiently on the sidelines for their turn to increase in value. Do not try and chase a green spiked candle. You'll get burnt very badly. The thing that I disagree with completely is him talking about how you should effectively wait for a complete bottom out to then buy to maximize profit. Yes, that's an ideal world. It never plays out. You are effectively trying to time the market. This is something I've mentioned in previous videos and why I stick to DCAing. This is a graph talking about the S&P 500. There is serious systematic correlation between the stock market and cryptocurrencies now. So general strategies are sort of comparable. Now, what we see here in the black line is people trying to buy the dip. So not only are they worrying constantly about trying to time the lowest possible entry point, so they're constantly having to think about where to enter their positions. These positions are also few and far between. So you can see they're trying to buy every time there's a big dip, whereas the DCA is just averaging in every, so you can see here, contributes $1 on every trading day, an additional $100 on every trading day where the S&P 500 drops more than 2%. Both strategies contribute this much over time. What we can see here, though, is if you were only trying to time the dips and put more money in when you were timing the dips, your total portfolio value after, say, 30 years would be $150,000. If you were just DCAing in, sometimes you were buying at the highs, sometimes you were buying at the lows, you come out on top with a portfolio value of over $175,000. So there's, you've left loads on the table just by trying to time the bottom of these markets, which invariably just never works. So this is why I stick to the DCA strategy. I look at projects that I'm fond of, that I see will do well into the future. I'll buy into those projects and I'll continue averaging my positions in over the course of time, instead of trying to buy in, wait 6 months and then buy again when it bottoms out. I think it's a ridiculous strategy. Again, none of this is financial advice at all. Do your own research. I'm an idiot. Some more bullish news for Hedera as well, which I was tipped off by Mitchell, so thank you very much, talking about the new EVM compatibility. So Woo's DeFi with $155 million Hbar fund. So the latest big budget decentralized finance incentive program is coming from an unusual source, Hedera Hashgraph. press release on Tuesday, the Hbar Foundation, developers of Hedera, announced a $155 million crypto economy fund with a focus on DeFi. So effectively, this is going to be lent out to projects. Projects can apply similar to their grants from the Hbar Foundation. They apply for these grants in order to supplement and build DeFi solutions within the ecosystem. So I think Stader is getting a portion of this, and this is what is going to be funding the early staking rounds. And I know of DEXs, for example, SourceSwap, that are probably looking to apply to this to receive a bit of extra capital in order to push their projects out. Again, this is incredibly bullish. Hedera doesn't do any half measures. The governing council and its members are very serious about developing this project, and we can see this because they put their money where their mouth is. $155 million to develop DeFi is no small amount of cash, and we will see the benefits from that. Talking about DEXs, we can see that Source is, or has been and is, the consistently second most traded coin on Hedera at the moment. So this is coming from the Source rewards from the Source faucet, where you can claim every 8 hours if you hold NFTs. Tons of videos over on my YouTube channel on how to buy them and talking about the DEX. If you guys are interested in having some NFTs with utility and potentially a lot of rewards once the ecosystem goes live, I suggest you check out the other videos on my channel. But really bullish news here. We can also see HBAR is now coming into these transactions, and NADA, which is a game over in the Asia Pacific region, which Hashpack was talking about, a lot of new user accounts. Still on the subject of DEXs as well, Tangent is apparently gearing up and getting ready to launch their super fast layer 2 DEX, and they're saying to be ready as well. I think these are one of the guys that are benefiting from the Hbar Foundation's $155 million incentive fund, probably alongside Hedera Starter, which I believe they're in partnership with. Seriously bullish on this as well. I still believe that SourceSwap will probably be the first to launch, and then probably quickly followed by Tangent. Talking about the general market overview as well, some more massive news coming from LFG. So this is the Lunar Foundation Guard. Now, what's really interesting about this, as I've mentioned in quite a few videos recently, is they have been buying up a ton of Bitcoin. Now, there's a reason this is important. It's important because there are a lot of banks and institutions in the traditional finance world that are buying Bitcoin as a hedge against fiat, and as a backing effectively to fiat currencies. And Terra is doing the same effectively in the DeFi system. So the Terra's got a massive DeFi ecosystem, and they are now buying up Bitcoin as a backing effectively to the incentive programs they provide in the decentralized finance world. So Bitcoin is not only becoming a currency reserve for traditional finance, it's becoming a currency reserve for decentralized finance. This is incredibly bullish for Bitcoin in general, but also the crypto markets, as we've kind of got these stable projects that are underpinning some of the more lucrative ones. Looking at this now, this is the address for the Lunar Foundation Guard's Bitcoin wallet, and we can see they've got 30,000 Bitcoin, or nearly 31,000 Bitcoin, worth over $1.4 billion as it currently stands. And this has increased roughly $500 million since I last mentioned it, probably 2 or 3 days ago. So they are buying up serious amounts of Bitcoin to help support their ecosystem growth, which is really important. Some oddball or curveball news here, as we see Opera is now releasing a crypto browser where they're deeming it to be the world's first Web3 browser, additional privacy and security, access to Web3 dApps, a native non-custodial wallet solution, and as well as powerful Opera features. Something I'll keep my eye on. I currently use Brave, but it's interesting to see these big players in the space move towards this. It'll be very interesting to see if Chrome, obviously Google's solution, moves towards anything like this. One of the last things I wanted to touch on this video, I appreciate it's been quite a long one, is just talking about why staking is quite profitable, and it just talks about this compounding notion here. So we can see along the time axis, this is actually months, but over a 60-month period or 5-year period, we can see that with an average 12% APY on staking and a conservative 20% increase in the HBAR price every year, you have a net gain effectively of 82% over that 5-year period, other than just holding, but also holding and staking those tokens. So some bullish incentives there to be holding HBAR as well as staking it on these early platforms. And lastly, something I mentioned at the beginning of the video is talking about Turtle Moon's user signups. We can see they've spiked massively, over tenfold nearly in March. Really bullish for the Hedera ecosystem. This is where dead pixels will be dropping over on Turtle Moon, as well as some of the other newer NFT projects that are coming to the space. So I'd recommend you guys sign up for a wallet to make sure that you have early access to the ecosystem once it all goes live. Anyway, guys, I'll leave that one here because this is much longer than I traditionally would, but there was a lot of good information that hopefully would help you guys over the coming weeks and months. Please make sure you're subscribed. Tons of content coming here for you guys into the future. I love engaging with you all, so please leave some comments and any questions down below. Anyway, I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.